And happy Friday to everyone. I am Holly Fogel, and joining me is
Lori Hamilton,
Lori
coaches on
Hamilton.
call, I guess. No,
Coaches
I'm
on
kidding.
call,
We
back
are.
for a little conversation today about a new metric that I have been introducing over the last several months, and it's all
Mhm.
built around pipeline training, and which I'm very fond of. So,
Yep.
having a pipeline is super important in any kind of business, especially a sales business. And I think a lot of times in real estate, folks get focused on finding the now person
Right.
ready to list today, person ready to buy today. There's nothing wrong with that. The only issue with that is that's where almost every other agent is also competing. So you're always competing with this huge amount of competition when you're looking just for the now. And I think there is such tremendous value in the folks that aren't ready, the three
Hmm.
month, the 6 month, the people that are a year out. And the hardest part about that is probably how the little cliche came up, which is the fortunes and the follow up.
Hmm.
And a lot of folks are notoriously unskilled at proper follow up. So, over the last couple of months and the last couple of years, actually, I have been doing a deep dive into a CRM. And the CRM of late for me has been Bold Trail, previously known as KV Core.
Hmm.
And what I have uncovered is how powerful the statuses in the CRM have been able to outline and initiate a pipeline. And so now, what first kind of started as, wow, this is neat, it can keep you organized and all that, has completely flipped it on its head for me. And it's a complete business changer. Like understanding a very small section of Bowl Trail and not getting lost in all the bells and whistles and all the stuff that really doesn't matter to 95% of the agents that use the darn tool is how can I capitalize on two areas? And it's the dashboard and the CRM, the contacts. So in doing all that, I have really gotten focused on pipeline training. And when I now have uncovered in Bold Trail and I brought to the office, and Lori's here today to really give some evidence of success for us all, is I came up with this little metric called 1-1-20. And I've kind of been joking around about it because a lot of people were tattooing themselves with "Let Me" or "Let Them" from Mel
Yeah.
Robbins. And I'm
Yep.
joking around going, you know what? You need to tattoo 1-1-20, 1-1-20 on yourself and never forget it. And so we've kind of had a little bit of fun with that. But what is the 1-1-20 metric? Well, the 1-1-20 metric is all around your pipeline. And it's real simple. That's the other great piece to it. It's simple. If a salesperson will use the statuses or their CRM or an Excel spreadsheet or files, I don't care, sheets of paper, and you will at all times commit, like this is the challenge, to having one minimums. These are minimums, by the way. So one person under contract at all times. So the minute you know someone's closing on February 20th, you better make sure that you already have somebody that's going to be replacing that person if you only have one, because the one's going to go to zero, and that is not acceptable. So you always have one person under contract. Boy, wouldn't that be great? Just that metric alone should make everybody feel good, right, Lori?
Oh, 100%. Like that should make you wake up and be like, yeah, I've got this. And I will have no issues this year hitting any of my income goals or riding a roller coaster.
Exactly. So we always have one under contract. Now, in order to replace the one under contract, we must always have a current client. Always. You should always have a listing agreement or a signed buyer agreement at all times. If you always had one current client that you were working with, nurturing, because remember, every time you have one client, you should be leveraging the client and growing by three more opportunities. Now, the three more opportunities might be an active lead, but it might just be someone that you're putting into your sphere, right? So people in sphere are very good, right? That's called relationships. It's called your subscriber list. So we always need to be growing our subscriber list week after week. So when you have current clients and you have someone under contract, you should also be proactively and intentionally growing by three. That's a strategy that we've taught for years at our office. We always teach that you grow by three from every one. Now, where it gets a little bit challenging for folks, and that even is a challenge, it's not easy to get this pipeline in place. Like, this is where we come in as coaches and trainers and helpers, right? We're trying to help everyone get to the promised land of 1/120. The 20 represents 20 active buyer, seller, renter, or investors that are 0 to 120 or 130 days out from doing a transaction and hiring you, which is what is going to move them from the active status to the client status. So if you always had 20 people that you were following up, nurturing, providing value to, engaging, talking to, doing Zooms, taking out to lunch, nurturing, providing value, whatever. If you always had the 20, someone at some point, if you create enough loyalty, their motivation and their qualification will match the magic sequence of MQL, motivated, qualified, loyal buyers and sellers, renters and investors, because there's 4 groups of people. Most people only focus on 2, very short-sighted. But they should be in the position to then become a client. And if they're not going to become a client because maybe their timing just changed. Maybe they're not a 0 to 120 days out. They're going to wait 7 months. You can always use the prospect as a holding pattern. Or if they're completely going to take their time off of their foot off of the gas for a more extended, then they should go to your sphere. And they also have a follow-up nurture plan.
Mhm.
So we're not ignoring people in sphere. We don't ignore prospects and we don't ignore closed. Those are all moving targets. Your statuses are constantly in flux. But if I can get every agent to 20 active, 1 under contract and 1 client at all times, I just took myself right out of a job. Right. And they took themselves right off of the income roller coaster. And now they're actually running a business where they have clarity, they have focus, they have confidence, they're enthused, they're motivated, they have momentum, and they feel really good. And that's what I'm about. I want people to feel really good about who they are and what they do. And most of the time, people are stressed because they don't have this pipeline metric done. So 1/120 has been a complete game changer. It's how I coach now. It's completely changed everything. And Lori, part of Coaches on Call, and we work together. It's great because I've just enjoyed so much getting these little reinforcement nuggets from Lori, and she's going to share. Um, like, hey, I just have to tell you again how much I love this. So we wanted to come on and talk about it and hopefully spread the 1/120 message. I'm changing all my Facebook messaging. I want people to really get grounded in this and understand how to do it. And I think most of the help that we can provide people is getting them to that initial 1/120. And we do have plenty of agents that are like, I'm a 5/5/50 gal, or I'm a 10/10 100 man. All right, your number's your number, but the
Yes.
minimum 1/120. So Lori,
Yes.
let's have some real life conversation and
Okay.
context about how this is really changing, especially the newer agents that you're working with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So when I'm always learning and you and I are always collaborating. And when you talked about the 1/120 and you talked me through it, then we did classes on it and I looked at it and I'm like, okay, this makes complete sense to me because when I used to sell back in the day, it was something I relate this to like when we all had our whiteboards. Before we really used CRMs, it was like the whiteboard and it was like buyers, sellers, under contract, closings, all of that stuff. And I was like, okay, we're trying to use technology. We're trying to, so there's that whole skill right there and adoption of people using it. But when you brought out the 1/120, this gets people, yes, using the technology, and that's not the whole entire point. It's just a system that helps support this 1/120 rule or formula that you've come up with. And I was like, I'm implementing this with the newer agents. I think with the newer agents, well, especially in my group, our concentration is just getting them to their first 5 transactions in their first year, right? So they start out with 0. They come in, they have no pipeline. And I'm like, these are the perfect people right now to try to implement this with, which is why I felt like I was definitely going to try it. I love implementing something that makes sense to me. I get it and I can easily communicate it to other people. So with these newer agents, some were, they had been doing activities, they had started building a pipeline, but I think their big um kind of the big hurdle in the way was they're like, I have so much follow up. You're telling me I've got to, go do my activities, my calls, my texts, my emails, my personal notes. I got to put people on campaigns. I got to follow up with them. When do I do that? And yeah, we're talking about the lead conversion time. And I finally just said, let's simplify this thing. And I took an agent. She actually was like, I got nothing going on. And I was like, well, we're kind of in risk, right? So let's look at it. And I said, let's concentrate on three things right now. Do you have anything under contract? No. Okay, fine. No problem. Let's go. Do you have any clients? She actually did have a client. She had a listing. And then she had met somebody that at an open house that was going to be ready pretty soon. I would call it an A lead. And in my world, an A lead is a time frame of, probably within the next 30 days, they're going to want to hire you to be their buyer's agent. Okay, in this case, a buyer. So that's an A lead. So I was like, okay, well, that's an active lead. Technically, you just haven't made them a client yet. You've got one client because you've got a listing, because you've got that, the client relationship is there. You've got that listing, but you don't have a client relationship yet. But that's great because that's one active lead. And that's probably your closest active lead right now, isn't it? And she's like, to becoming a client. And she's like, yes. So I was like, okay, what other things have you done that you've got people in your CRM or wherever you keep them? Who are people that have raised their hand and expressed interest? And let's see if they're within that 120 days to be considered an active lead. She actually had about 11. She didn't realize it.
Awesome. Yeah.
She didn't realize it. So I was like, okay, cool. I said, do you see how you've got 11 opportunities right now to follow up with and continue nurturing to get them to being a client? And she's like, yeah, I do. And I was like, well, let's go back to actives. And then this is where it changed a little bit more because from a teaching standpoint, I was thinking, okay, nurture your leads, your active leads, call these people, whatever you have to do for the next step, right? But I was like, I need to make it more clear because something was getting in the way of them not doing it. So I was like, okay, guys, let's go deep on active leads really quickly. Your active leads, I said, let's put them in four categories, and it's via time frame. I said, active leads are all encompassing people within 120 days, but how do you know which ones are where in their whole entire consideration journey, like the whole entire journey of buying a home or selling? So I said A's are 30 days. Those are probably your closest because they're going to be ready to either go out or they're going to want you to come over soon to look at their house. Your B's are your 60 days, C's are 90 days, D's are 120 days. And then it becomes how often do you follow up with your A's? Well, that's a weekly. That's a weekly touch. You need to figure out how to get those people to a client,
Or
you know?
even more, maybe three times a week. Like,
Exactly.
and ChatGPT will tell you exactly how to follow up
Yeah.
with each of these time
Yep.
frames.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, put that in ChatGPT. Have them do the hard work for you, instead of you trying to think. And then the same thing with a B. A B needs to be at least every 2 weeks, right? And then your C's are once a month. Make sure I'm not dropping the ball. Are you getting the properties I've sent you? Let me tell you what's going on in the market. Let me tell you what's going on with interest rates. Something market specific, also property specific with those C's. And the same thing for D's. I would say D's once a month to every 45 days, really just kind of depending. So when we just talked about fortunes in the follow up, that on your active leads, go through your active leads, do a cleanup, and go, who are my A, B, C's, and D's? And then if you've got people, one thing we uncovered, we did this on our call on Tuesday because we went through pipeline. That's all we do on Tuesdays is go through your pipeline. And I said when we're going through active leads, I was able to actually pull in bold trail how everybody's people are coded as far as the status. Um, can I show you really quickly? Can I
Sure.
share?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do show and
All
tell. I
right.
love it.
So from a team standpoint, like if you've got a team and you're in Bold Trail, this is just a new agent team. So I'm able to pull up everybody on this team. And I go over to the vital side on the left and then I choose pipeline. So these are all the statuses that we're tracking up top that you've talked about. So
Mhm.
actively, we're supposed to have 20, right? Now, from a team standpoint, right? Each people, if they all had 20, I'd have more active leads, right? But 20 is, if you're looking this from a personal standpoint, here's your active lead, 20, client, one, under contract, one, right? So that there's the 21 one laid out for you, right? So I
And
look at
let me
this.
just say just
Okay.
quick, when you're looking at this view, and that's why this is such gold,
Yeah.
because that closed as a team leader, as an agent, if that closed number is not increasing month after month, you have an income problem. You are on that darn
Absolutely.
roller coaster. And that's why this 1/120 is so brilliant, because what you were just saying, if I'm if I'm working with one of my clients and we go in, and now most of my clients are using the CRM, but I have some that aren't, but we're still able to see if they have someone under contract, if they have someone that's a client. First of all, I'm going to ask, have you received any referrals from these people? Is the house price
Mhm.
right? Where did this buyer come from? Like we do our little deep dive into your current business to make sure that you are continuing down a strategy that's working because you have business. So we need to go
Yep.
deep. But if they already have a pipeline and then their active is down to three, where do you think the focus of my call is going to be with my client? It's going to be on how do we get more active leads. I'm not going to be talking
Absolutely.
about, I'm only going to talk about what matters. Like we can sit and have fun and talk about all kinds of other stuff. But if I'm really going to help an agent win, this is all that matters. Their pipeline. Nothing else matters. They can go find out
No.
how to do all the other stuff with ChatGPT or someone else. But really, what I care about and what you care about is how do we get this agent running a business where they feel confident and their skills are increasing and they're providing a high level of service to the consumer. So I love
Uh,
this view. Go ahead. Continue.
yes, a
Sorry. I
hundred
get so
percent. No,
excited
this
about
is
this.
well, me too, because this helps me and it helps me
Yes.
keep them in that culture of productivity. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that's what they just kind of need to adopt and as far as a mindset goes. And when you're sitting here looking at active leads, and like you said, if you don't have anything under contract, you don't have a client, we need to fill those active leads. So
Yes.
when I met with an agent who had what I thought was nothing at the time. He was a new agent. And I said, okay, I want to put out a formula. I knew he would relate to numbers. So this was actually a good session. But I said, let's follow this. I said, as you're starting your career, let's start with this formula, the 1/120. I kind of went backwards and did 21/1 because I started with, he had nothing under contract. I knew that. And I knew he did not have any client relationships. He'd been having some conversations. But then we went to active leads and we ended up uncovering about five people he had had conversations with that he did know the timelines on. He just didn't know what to do next.
Right.
Right.
I love it. This
So,
is so
yeah.
great.
So he didn't know what to do next. So I'm like, all right, let's talk about next steps to get them to a client. And let's talk about the ranking and how much time you need to spend with these people in the active leads, you know? Now,
And
if you're
that's
coming
what most
in,
people need.
mhm,
Most people just need help on what to do. Like
they do.
it's easy to say, go do that, go do that. And the person's like, oh, okay, I can go do that. Well, they really don't know how to do that. Like that's really our job is to really get
Mhm.
people to admit I'm
Yeah.
stuck. I don't know what to do. That's the best words I can ever hear from someone. I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, thank gosh. Now we can go figure it out. I don't know if I have the answer, but to dig it together, you and me and them, we can figure it out. You
Yeah, and
know?
they're more apt to tell you what
Mhm.
the deal is instead of feeling like full of shame that they don't have anything going on. It's like, no, 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 you actually might. Like
Yeah, I
you've
do.
done something. You've done something. You're not just sticking around here. You've done something that you're hoping is going to pan out. But let's not hope. Let's like actually have a strategy around this. And
Love it.
so we were able to pull about five people that he'd been talking to into active leads, determine what the next move was to get them to the client. So he was like, I see the picture now. And that's what's hard for new agents. They're just like, we give them a lot of information. They're learning so much. We give them so much information about, okay, this is how you can get business. These are your pillars. But they don't really see the field. So I've started to change when I work with the new agents. I bring out this formula and I'm like, goal is we want to get you closed. We want your first 5 transactions in your first year closed. So they got to get under contract first, and then you've got to establish a client relationship. But that starts with some active leads, right? So
Mhm.
I'm meeting with a girl who just joined next Friday. She got nothing. She's zero across the board. She literally just got started. So what I'm able to do is I can show her this formula and go, all right, this is how we want to help you get to your 5 transactions, and there is a process behind it. But to get some active leads stacked up, we then go, let's figure out 4 different lead generation channels or
Mhm.
pillars. We interchange that a lot. And then that's where you're going to start filling active leads. And I
Right.
think
So
it
she'll
makes it a
start
whole
with
lot
just
more
her
killer.
sphere. Yes, she'll be loading in her sphere. And
Yep,
typically
right
what's
here.
going to happen is if, I think everybody starts with 75 or 100, whatever our baseline is.
Uh-huh.
Sphere, typically, when they raise their hand, if they're in your sphere and they've already committed to you, they're just going to go from sphere to client. They're going to skip
Yep.
the active part, right? But
A lot
you
of
might
times.
just have a neighbor that you're really good friends with that's like, hey, Holly, you got your real estate license. Awesome. We want to list the house. You go over, you sign the paperwork. They don't go to active, they go right to client.
Mm-hmm.
And then
That's awesome.
you give them
That's
all
so
their
fun. That's the fun stuff.
hashtags, right? And then you fill out all the information. When you use Bold Trail effectively, you can move from consistent to efficient to proficient in that platform. And now it can do so much for you all around the contact status. I'm not going to the marketing tab. I'm not going to the lead
Yeah.
engine tab. I'm not going to marketplace. I'm
Yep.
staying in my gold mine, which is my people. The only thing agents need to focus on is their database. Because some people are going to be new, some people are going to be active, some people are going to be prospects, some people are going to be spheres, some people are going to be under contract and closed or whatever. But if you spend the time, see, now your mind gets in the right bucket. Because if I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at people that are under contract, they have a transaction. I got to make sure I'm holding it together. Is my TC doing it? Are we staying in touch? I'm the project manager. If they're a client, if they're a seller, am I over communicating? Are we priced right? Am I doing all my marketing? How often are we communicating? How many showings are we getting? Am I tracking all the metrics? Have I gotten a referral from this person? What is my marketing giving me 3 more opportunities, whether it's a new opportunity for an active, a prospect, or a sphere?
Mm-hmm.
Like all these numbers the statuses are just moving about. And the total subscriber list is growing on a regular basis because you are constantly meeting new people,
You
right?
know what I've encouraged the new agents to start doing. I'm like, every Tuesdays are our day. We have our huddle call, and this is what we're doing. And yeah, I said we're gonna go dive deeper on the different statuses. But like you said, it's where do we need the most help is where we're really gonna start. But what I've encouraged them is just like Broker Pat has always said, what time does your business open every day, right? I said, so we've all got the habit of we know what time our business opens every day. Well, the first thing you should be checking is this. This is what you do, and it helps deter. You look at it every day. That just like when you go check your text messages, just like when you go check your email. Then it's your pipeline. Okay, sure. Check my text messages. Check my email. But third thing you need to do is definitely go in there and look at your pipeline,
It
and
gives you
that
your
really
action steps for
determines
the
what you need
day.
to be doing. That's what you need to be doing.
Absolutely. If
Mm-hmm.
you have, if you don't have any active leads, then you're holding an open house. You are doing your
Yeah.
networking. You're doing the tasks, the income producing activities to get you to an active client. Like this is the wheel. This is what keeps the
Yeah.
wheel in motion and
And
not stuck. It's called a pipeline. And it lays out beautifully in Bold Trail, but can you use an Excel spreadsheet? Can you use a whiteboard? Of course you can.
yeah.
I want to just have people meet, I want to meet people where they are and
Mm-hmm.
figure out what tool they do use. And we can implement this strategy in any tool. So if you don't want to learn a new technology, don't. If as long as there's a way for us to put them in statuses where you can
Yep.
see where your time and attention needs to go each day, then you're off and running. All the other stuff is noise. And agents love to look at noise and shiny objects and everything else. None of that matters. This is what matters, in my opinion. And you're seeing the difference. Look how great your folks are doing. I am just so impressed with where you've been able to take this team. And, I think it's it's just a great opportunity, especially for newer folks that want to get into this business, to have this kind of framework and this support that you're running with this pathway group. It's just so impressive, Lori. You've done
Thank you.
such a good job with
Thank
this,
you.
and it's just really commendable. And I'm seeing these agents being excited and
Yeah.
they're growing, and the results are speaking for themselves, and it's not an overnight success. Like this business isn't. And the fact that they've been able to stay the course and you've been able to keep them on track and reframing them into this
Mhm.
metric is,
Yeah.
it's really
Well,
special.
thank you. Thank you. Well, I couldn't have done it without your help on that. I mean, like I said, it sometimes when somebody like you just puts words to something or gives some kind of value towards something, it's like this isn't a new concept, right? But this is a different way to look at it that simplifies it. And I think especially with new agents, we got to keep it simple. They need that. Like there's so much coming at them. There's so much that they're learning their first year. A lot of bigger concepts just have to be simplified that they can just implement and do. So this really turned the tide for me to help them get a little bit more focused. And I'll tell you another thing I didn't get to tell you yet because this happened a couple of days ago, but I look at the 1/122 as like, because we've got to always have new agents on the team. So I'm always looking for new agents to join the team. And I kind of felt like I was at zero. And then I was like, okay, what do you tell your people? You probably don't have zero. Go back through your CRM because Lori, you've done stuff. So I went back through there, and the fortune really is in the follow up, like you keep saying, because I was like, oh, I forgot. Terrible. I forgot about that oh, it's time for me to follow up with these people. Like luckily I didn't miss the window. And I got two appointments this week from that set up because I started
Brilliant.
working on that on Wednesday and then was able to get a phone call interview on Thursday and then supposed to meet somebody today later today. So I was like, oh gosh, if I
And
hadn't gotten
look
in
at
there and
that.
gotten focused. I know
Right?
if I had
How
not gotten in
many
there and gotten focused.
I
Yeah.
love that, because how many times do we say everything we're teaching the agent we need to be doing as managers and recruiters?
Yes,
It's the
yes,
same
yes.
metric. So
It's
we
the
need
same thing.
somebody that's under contract. We need someone that's talking to us, and we need 20 other people that we should be following up. So can the 1/120 work for that? Yes, it can work for
Yeah,
any business.
it
This
can
isn't
work for any
just for real
business.
estate, folks. It's for any business, and every business is does have a sales element to it, right? Every business
Yeah,
does. So
every business does.
really, it's really been fun. I'm so excited about it. I come up with fun concepts, here and there, and sometimes they last, like my baseball strategy. I love the baseball strategy.
Yeah,
We've
I do
used
too.
that for years, but this one, I'm telling you, I'm so grounded in this now that this is how I'm going to offer like my coaching. It's going to be around this concept. So,
Mhm.
if I get a new client and they say, "Hey, I want to be coached," this really to me is the biggest metric. So I think the discovery calls are all going to be around this is what I now offer. And, people are either going to say that's what I want to sign up for, or they're going to
Mhm.
say that's not what I'm looking for. And that's beautiful. You want people
Well,
to come into something that they have an expectation and it makes sense. But I've gotten so plus I'm just really good at conversion. Conversion's kind of my fun zone. Um,
yeah.
so I can just really see this and improving my skill, because instead of trying to be everything to everyone, I don't have to try to do that. That's hard in itself. Now I can
Mhm.
say, you know what? I finally figured out my wheelhouse, and this is what it's going to be. And then I'll attract the people that are looking to come to this pond. I
Yeah,
don't need to be
absolutely.
leading horses to water that they have no interest in drinking, right? It's like this
Absolutely.
is the pond that I live in. This is how I've gotten good, and I want to bring people that want to drink from this pond. And I think
Mhm.
as leaders, and you leading a team and stuff, it's like, hey, this is how we're going to run the team. And then everybody gets the buy-in, the expectations there, and you can
Mhm.
really see the skills improve. Like this is where you can really see follow-up improve, caring for your clients, improving the level of service that you provide is going to go through the roof. So I just see this such a win-win. I mean, I really
It
do.
it it really is because when you break it down to very simple, there's still a lot of learning in each of those categories, like your active leads, your client. Like I said, we just did a deep dive on active, and it was just like, yeah, they had learned the ABCD ranking before. Did they ever really apply it? They probably got confused somewhere along the way, and it just kind of went to the wayside. But now it's reinforced every week, right? How many A's you
Love it.
got in your actives? How many B's, C's? And you know what? Some people had a bunch of C's and D's, and I was like, that is awesome. You couldn't ask for more. I would love to see some A's in there, but you got to keep filling those C's and D's, really. Those are some of the most important ones because those are people that are going to happen and going to keep feeding you, right? But there's so much to learn even in the client phase. I mean,
Yes,
like
it's so true.
you've done so many classes that I've taken and on just being the client phase, which is like take a listing and leverage it and get three pieces of business off of it. New agents, I know, they're just trying to get to their 5 transactions and they're learning the whole process of a transaction. I try to help them with that. Sometimes they're ready for it, sometimes they're not. But it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, well, to come, this makes sense because you have something to look forward to that once you get through your first couple of client transactions and get closed, then you can say, oh, yeah, there was that concept of leveraging my listing to get three more pieces of
Right.
business. Maybe I can try it, right? So it's there for future reference. But there's so
Yep.
much learning to be had and so much teaching for you as well as myself to these agents about under each of those statuses.
So true. Well, this has
So,
just been
yeah.
phenomenal. I really, really appreciate you sharing, the evidence of success. People are like, oh, does it really work? And
Oh,
it's
it
just
does.
to have a conversation, around this, to go a little bit deeper. So I really appreciate you kind of letting me hijack the concept for our coaches on call today. But I do think this could provide a really good framework for a lot of other individuals, trainers, brokers, coaches, recruiters, anybody. And
Yeah.
that's what we really try to do with these calls is to really help have you maybe expand what you've been thinking about, learn something new, go a little bit deeper. And it's always a pleasure. Love working with you. And,
Same.
this has just been great. So I appreciate your time today. And hopefully everybody got some great value. And we'll be bringing on more coaches on call. Look for our next
Yeah.
episode to drop soon.
Yep. Take care.
All right. We'll see you
All right.
later.
Bye.